the next congressional crisis may be just around the corner. You can read that on our website today. It's an article that's quite provocative because, as we know, the Congress just averted another big government shutdown. The fact that FEMA now says it has enough money to help the folks in the disaster areas of our country from the recent hurricane, et cetera. But the fact that we keep going from one crisis to the next, and we get ourselves in a situation where we're on the brink like this, and the voters have to be saying, get your act together. This is absolutely crazy. Third time.
This is the persistence of Congress operating pretty much at the equivalent of DEFCON 1.
Yes.
That's what we're getting used to. This is the third time.
That's right. And Chad points that out very interestingly in his article. What do you think, Ford?
I think this song and dance is getting old. I mean, the House Republicans offer a plan, the Senate Democrats shoot it down, make a scene, try to blame it on the Republicans, and now our savior is FEMA came up with $200 billion. You got to be kidding me here. Something's going on in the budget office. I mean, we've got a real, cutting and spending problem, and it's really getting old, and the American public doesn't really care because we've had these disasters, and a lot of people are unemployed. They want the government to work effectively, and I share their frustration on both sides of the aisle. Well,
I just find it hard to stomach, and I think most people are finding it very difficult. I mean, Congress's rating is, the approval rating is less than the president. Somewhere standing at between 9
It's the most hated body of politics in America.
It really is. And you would think these guys and gals would get the message by now, that the public has had enough, that they want the Congress to do the people's business, and that we can't afford to waste any time. And there we go again, taking a look at something like this and coming and creating a situation where it is seen as a crisis, and we're talking about not able to agree on disaster relief money.
Well, it's trying to find not able to.
But that
we can't agree on that.
But that's a no-brainer. But when you think about that, how are they going to come to terms on anything with the special commission that's been in place to deal with the debt? I mean, that's
thank God we have triggers
for that commission. I don't know what you think, but I say kudos for that commission. But it is absurd. I mean, and if you happen to be a victim that was in any of these areas where you needed FEMA, you needed FEMA, and that's what we were debating. And meanwhile, surprise, surprise, there was enough money to last a couple more days. And we're not talking about, I didn't find a $50 bill in the dresser and say, oh, good, I have 50 bucks. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. We have that. It does not leave us with a lot of confidence in any party.
And it was found, at the 11th hour, interesting enough, it's found, we have the money. At the last moment.
They checked the checkbook before Congress went to debate it.
It just seems so absurd. It seems really absurd, an absurd way to do business, Ford.
Absolutely. I mean, Congress is not being, honest with the American people. Let's be honest, though. At least a couple of days is a lot better than 90 minutes before, like last time. It really scares me that, one, Congress doesn't understand the needs of the American people, and two, how can you not know whether or not you have $200 billion or $100 billion?
People are just scratching their heads saying, are you kidding us? I mean,
I would really love one person to answer that question.
Well, that's it. I mean, people are saying, if you found that money, so what does that mean about the way we do our accounting, et cetera? And speaks volumes about where we are when we're trying to cut, billions off our debt. And they say there's no money to cut, et cetera. Things like that.
It's part of the problem is how do we all relate to the amount of millions and billions that we're talking about when suddenly, in a breaking news story, we found 200. I mean, how's that possible? How are we supposed to reconcile that and have an educated perspective so that we can influence our congressmen and our senators and the White House?
That's why we elect them, though, is to make sure that they're going to make the smart move, and all they're showing themselves to be is inept and welcome to partisan banter and childish bickering. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, and the song and dance is old, and I think the American public's tired of it, and we'll see what happens at the ballot box in 2012. But, I mean, whether I'm a Republican or a Democrat, I've really got to be concerned about my chances, of being reelected, to Congress, because people are just tired.
They really are. I mean, I think that level of anger is so deep-seated. It amazes me that some of these members don't really have a clue as to how deep that anger is, to the point where people are saying we've had enough, and we're just going to get rid of you, come November 2012. I just find it really fascinating that some of these guys are so insulated still that they don't get it.
Well, you know, I don't know if they're insulated or not. I know they changed their messages based on the poll of the day, so maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But what they're doing isn't working. I don't care, you know. And I sit out in the green room, and I'm in a sea of Republicans over here. But the truth is what we're doing, it's not working. I think that everybody has to say we're in trouble. We all need to get together and figure out something better. It ain't working.
Absolutely, Eric. I mean, incompetence, as we're seeing, is not a Democrat or Republican thing, but it clearly seems to be a congressional thing. And, you know, at some point, you're going to have to throw the bums out and bring someone else in who's going to be, you know, fiscally savvy about our, you know, $14 to $15 trillion debt, the deficits we're running. This can't continue, and it obviously took over 30 years and both parties to get here. I'm just hoping we get some more, at least fiscal conservatives in there to do something about this.
What do you think? I mean, I wanted you to expand a little bit about this blue ribbon committee that's going to be coming together to deal with the debt crisis. You think they're going to be able to work something out, given the track record so far about trying to come to terms with agreements and solutions?
I don't have a great deal of confidence right now. I'm just happy we've got triggers in place to at least cut something. But look, if you want to do what's in the best interest of the American people, you're going to go beyond the triggers. You're going to make the necessary cuts. You're not going to do it at the last minute. And you're going to realize the impact on those cuts, whether it's on the military, whether it's on entitlements, whether it's on general spending. You've got to be wise, and you've got to understand the implications and not run together like I've got an exam the next day, and you crash for it, and you don't even know what you learned. I mean, that's the real problem here. Is I'm not even sure Congress knows how Congress works. Yeah.